Morning, everybody. Welcome to your Smart Forms webinar this morning. I'm delighted you could join us. I know that some of you will have seen myself at the National User Group in November, talking about ECOS and our Smart Forms. So today is a catch-up on that to see where we're up to and where we're going with this product. Just for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jane Pritchard. I'm General Manager of Alliances at InfoTrack, and as far as this is concerned, that means the whole world of Ticket and InfoTrack and how amazing that is. Most of all of you today on the webinar are already clients of ours, and therefore you'll be familiar with what InfoTrack looks like through Ticket. But just for those who aren't, just be patient with me just so that I remind you where the buttons are as we go through to look at that this morning. Okay, I know how busy all of you are, and I know how hard it is to grab time to join webinars. So I'm just going to go straight in and start with a demonstration. If you have any questions throughout, then please do feel free to use the chat to raise those questions as part of the Zoom. And if I can, then I'll answer those for you during the course of the session, but hopefully at the end. I'm hoping we can be done and dusted, including questions and answers within half an hour. But anything that you want to ask, just make a note straight away and do ping that out for me. I'll keep everyone on mute just so that we can power through. Okay, so just to be clear, what I'm showing you now from your screen is a Partner for Windows screen that hopefully will look familiar to most of you who are using case panes currently. Starting over here on the left-hand side, when I was working in Partner for Windows as a lawyer, I couldn't live without my task panel and my entities and matters. But if we go down on the bottom left there, you've got the lovely InfoTrack alerts. So they're showing you anything that's happening on the transactions within InfoTrack. So if you're ordering something, it's going to bring it back in here without you actually having to go into the case and find it. Just want to be clear that how our smart forms work, our electronic onboarding, that you're still going to have the emails that you would have, whether you're integrated or not, but this is just an extra functionality for you so that you see it in multiple places. Okay, I have here my agendas, my sections of my file. This is a mock-up of how a file might look for you. I'll always have correspondence here. Some of you may just have one. Some of you may have multiple sections for the stage of the case. I have an InfoTrack folder and here a billing folder. These are what you may already have as workflow stages. What's the beauty of how ECOS works and our smart forms work is that it comes in right at the beginning of your case. So this will now be potentially the first time you'll ever use ECOS in the transaction, but you don't have to change your workflow for that, or you have to make only very, very minor tweaks. So if you already have a file opening process, by showing you what we're doing today, you'll see how easy that is to fit in out of the box. Okay, you'll all know that InfoTrack's only available if you're in a case view. So if you don't have case panes, you won't be able to see these two buttons here, New Orders and View Orders. New Order taking you to InfoTrack, View Orders showing you the orders that are already live on this case and the stage they're at. Okay. Always, I advise that people have an InfoTrack folder, or at least click on the folder where they want their InfoTrack documents to come back to, because obviously that's a really nice way of separating out the logic of a digital file. So you can see in my InfoTrack folder, I have some smart forms completed just because I like to have a backup there for Blue Peter style, and my title plans, etc. You may have this already set up, or you may have two screens in your practice, so you have it slightly differently. Really important just to note where all your data is coming from in InfoTrack. Again, for your integration, we're using your data from Partner for Windows. So if you have, in this case, the purchaser, your solicitors, and the details of all your contacts here, will use that information to populate all the products in InfoTrack. Anyone who's ever seen me doing a presentation before will know that I'm quite Muppet heavy, and Kermit and Piggy have been around the block a few times. So I have actually decided to enter into the world of Star Wars. So today we're going to be dealing with Princess Leia and Han Solo, who are selling the Millennium Falcon, just because I feel like Kermit and Piggy need to have a bit of a rest. So this is a sale file. Again, important to note, what we're doing here is working with your sale transaction to start with. Okay. One more point of importance for you, and although you're not going to be using this so much with ECOS because it's the first touch with your client onboarding, for the rest of what you need in InfoTrack, you can have some of these key screens like this. Some of you already have them, where you enter the property details. There isn't that much information that you need for a whole residential transaction that isn't available in your client and your contacts within Partner for Windows. But nowhere in Partner for Windows out of the box does you have the property address. So these screens here that I use for my demonstrations are now actually available from Ticket out of the box. So if you don't have these, you can contact Partner for Windows Ticket and ask your account manager about those. Just somewhere, the more data you put in Partner for Windows, the more data you're going to provide to us at InfoTrack. Okay, let's get our hands dirty and onboard a client. Let's go straight in. So I'm going to my new order section at the top. Really important, I'm doing that from the case. From version 6 of Partner for Windows onwards, we're making sure that you can't get into InfoTrack from anywhere apart from the case, apart from being in the matter, because the power of the integration means we want to take the data about your matter and we want to tie up with your finances. And we don't know which matter you're talking about if you're just putting it in from Han Solo, as opposed to putting in from Han Solo's Solar Millennium Falcon matter. Okay, right, so if you use InfoTrack already, you'll be used to seeing this whole bar of the different products that we use. And you'll know that this is what InfoTrack call a workspace or workflow. And that's because these transactions sometimes happen in that order. For ECOS, which stands for Electronic Client Onboarding Service, we go straight to the top toolbar here and we click on the ECOS button. Because of the beauty of InfoTrack in Partner for Windows and integration, we have already mapped through the details of the sellers. So what I'm doing here is this is a sale case and I'm sending out the onboarding forms to my client in order for them to complete them in a full digital workspace. It's brought through the matter number, the Millennium Falcon address, and then I have both of my clients. I've got 2 clients in a group entity here and their telephone numbers here. We have this feature here called SMS verification, so that when this is one of the first touch points you have with your client digitally, so you can use the SMS verification or turn it off. You have the choice with our onboarding that you can use SMS verification or not, as you choose. So if I wanted to, I could take those off. And now we're getting into the real nitty-gritty. The whole process is about 4 clicks, but I want to make sure that I show you every option at this stage. So this is a sale. I'm going to have forms to add here. I might use property information, fittings and contents. I might add leasehold to that. Let's add all 3. So if I click on there, I've added 3 forms. So they are the TA forms, the Law Society licensed TA forms. InfoTrack licenses these forms from the Law Society in the same way that you might have forms in Partner for Windows with OIA, etc. So we own the licenses for these forms. It's exactly the same as what you're used to. I can add onto that my seller's questionnaire. And for my seller's questionnaire, that includes a sale questionnaire with, if it's relevant, an associated purchase. I'll show you that in a second. For those of you who are thinking, well, Jane, all you're talking about so far is a sale. How is this relevant to the rest of my department's work? By the end of this week, there will be in there as well a purchase questionnaire. So if all your client is engaging you for is the purchase of the property, you'll be able to choose that separately. But for any cases where it's sale and purchase. Now, going forward, the lifetime of this product, what we intend to do quite shortly is to add onto there every different type of generic questionnaire you could do. So although most of you today may be looking at this from a conveyancing point of view, because this is where the huge amount of onboarding takes place, you could use this for any other area of law as well. And that's what our intended use is. Okay, so I've got the forms I want. That so far was 2 clicks. I'm now coming in here to have add some documents. So this is, again, a really powerful tool in Partner for Windows and InfoTrack. If I click on Documents, for those of you who are already using us, you might be using this function for your AP1s with Land Registry, or for uploading your maps in searches. Anywhere where you can import ordinarily, because Partner for Windows has a special import tool, you're not looking at your desktop alone, you can go directly into the back of your Partner for Windows file. Now, if you don't have a digital file and you just scan things in whenever you need them, you can still default and click to a local folder. But this is the only case management system in the UK currently that has this feature, which is a on-premise solution like Partner for Windows, where we can actually see your file direct. So why would I need this? What I would suggest for ECOS is that what you do is you still use Partner for Windows to power up your client care process at the start. So your client care letter, your terms of business, the first part that you would send out to your client, we're adding to this onboarding. So I choose my client care letter from Partner for Windows and my terms of business, and I bring those into the workspace here for my client. You can do that as many times as you want to. So as a business, if you have a client care letter and a terms of business and a privacy notice and anything else that you have that you associate as separate documents, you could bring them all up individually. As part of betaing this product across the country, what we found is that without exception really, what our clients have been doing is reviewing what their client care and T's and C's looks like, and all of those accompanying documents, SDLT, etc. And what they're doing is trying to compile them as a more complete pack so that they don't have as many attachments. But that choice is yours. As a plug and play solution, without touching any of your documentation currently, you just click and upload them. Okay, Liz at Best Solicitors has helped me out here by letting me use her logos, etc. for this. This is a fully branded workspace we're creating for your client. So you can have as many templates as you want, but this one here is a template for Liz, and this is instructions on your sale and purchase. And this is the conversation that will go out starting to your client as an email. So we're saying, thank you for instructing us, and this is how they'll see it. Before we send it out, we have this part here where you can send it out as anybody else. So say, for example, I am sending this out as Jane Pritchard, but I work on Liz's cases, onboarding all of Liz's cases. If I want to, I can make it look like it's Liz that's sending it out, not me, so that Liz has that connection with the client right from the beginning. Okay, all of that workspace functionality for as many clients as you have in that transaction, for as many forms, for as many signatures, goes out to the client, and currently the workspace price for that is £5.50. Okay, that's it. I'm going to create that and send it out to my client. So it's about 4 clicks, depending on how many forms you want to upload and whether you want to upload them separately from Partner for Windows. The magic really happens now. So what I've got here is a workspace. This is the workspace I created today. So if this was the first product you'd ever ordered from InfoTrack, you'd have nothing above this. Okay, I'm looking now in InfoTrack at what a client, what a solicitor, a fee earner, an onboarder would see. So in this particular workspace, the Millennium Falcon, if I click on your TA form, you're going to see the TA form in a way that you've probably never seen it before, unless you've used our previous ECOS products. So you can see as a solicitor, as your client completes this, we've separated out the form into logical steps, and your client can complete it like this, and I'll show you it from the client's perspective. The reason I always show it from the solicitor first is because I just want you to get the concept that what we've done is made a smart form. So these are not just decoding the property information forms to make the onboarding experience easier. We're only going to show the client the relevant boxes for the answers that they provide. So for example, are the boundaries of the property irregular? If they're not, we don't need to know anymore. If they are, then we're going to have further questions that arise. Okay, and that would be the same throughout the transaction. Just for those of you who are aware, the Law Society are changing their property information form, the TA6, so that on Friday, they expect to release, I think that's tomorrow, they expect to release a new PDF with an added question in there about the dreaded Japanese knotweed. So our job for you will be to make sure that we guarantee that because we have the license for that form, when they release it, we release that with any amendments. So you never have to worry about all of this development yourself. We just take care of that for you. Okay. We have a fittings and contents form again, which follows a similar pattern, a similar process. When you look at it from a solicitor perspective, you're going to get questions and answers throughout. So again, I could have a boiler included. I could provide a price and comments on this. When we were drafting these forms, we looked at lots and lots and lots of different ways that people collect the information, and also looked at the way that clients like to answer it. So hopefully by doing this, we've given you as much, made it as easy for your clients as possible to complete the form. Okay, let's close that down. I am just going to, I know that some of you may be asking questions at the moment, but I'm just going to go through, if you don't mind, and show you what a completed workspace looks like and what this looks like from the client's perspective before I go back and look at the questions, just because it means that I can make sure I stay on track. Really important again, so you understand, if a client had, if I click on the More button here, there's some additional settings. So I might have set the workspace up, the client might happily be completing that, but as a lawyer, I need to understand what control I have in that process. So when forms are completed by your client and signed, it locks the workstation, and you've got the control to unlock it here. If for any reason you have some kind of GDPR breach, you send it to the wrong person, or you decide to stop onboarding the client because frankly you've decided you're not going to take the transaction any further, by clicking on invalidate, you turn that workspace off for the client so that they can't continue any further and they can't see the data, and they're just asked to contact you. At any part in the transaction, I can resend this email and I can change what I'm saying out to the client. So if I resend the email, it will resend a link to the workspace. So I've got some controls here that add functionality. What we're doing with this product is we're adding it so you can also amend the workspace during the transaction. So if you start and realize that actually you didn't realize it was a leasehold property and you want to include the leasehold form, that you can then resend the leasehold form. You have a little details tab here, and in the details tab, it shows you what you've done so far with the order. Okay, so in true Blue Peter style, what I'm going to do is I've got, if I close this down, I have one that I've done earlier on this case. So what I'm going to do now is show you what it looks like from a client's perspective and show you what that workspace looks like. Okay, so I am going to go back and show you it from my email. So just bear with me one moment so that I can go through into my account for you. Okay, I am just going to double check that you are all still able to see me on my account. So I am going to just reshare. On there. And release my share again just to make sure that you are in the right screen. Okay, so what you'll, if you bear with me there. So this was a partly completed workspace from another matter. And what we're looking at here, this is one that we did in our Northern integration group for Ticket this week for Sater & Gordon, and for the Northern firms that we saw on Wednesday. So what we did here, anything that you put for your branding will appear at the top of the workspace. So your client will receive an email that will show you, that will appear that it's come from you with your email on it. And your unique message that you control, and all of these colors and the Pantones are for your experience, what you have, so you're in total control of this. Go through into your workspace and it will show you whatever forms you've completed in there. It will show you a little bit of dialogue about those forms. So if you had property information form, seller's questionnaire, etc., you're going to get a little bit of text about each one of those. And then it brings you up into this dashboard. So obviously welcome hands back into your dashboard. And you can see here I've got 2 forms. The reason it says 2 forms is because we extract any information from a form where it has to be asked of your client more than once in a paper process, and we just put it in one place. So the sale information is generic across multiple forms, so we keep it in one place within the InfoTrack form questionnaire. So if I now went onto the property information form, I can see where my client got to. So all of these sections, they've completed nicely here. And as a client, I've come back to this form. I might have started this on the tube on the way home if I was in London, or on the train if I was in a different area of the country. And when I get home, I think, right, how far have I got? So I'm going to click on my environmental matters section of my form, and quite straightforward for me to be able to go down and find out what I have and haven't done. I always like to use the Japanese knotweed because it's always such a contentious subject. So I can see that I've said that it is impacted by Japanese knotweed. And so it's asking me, please state whether there's a Japanese knotweed management plan in place and supply a copy. And I have to do that for this form to be validated. So I can either say attached, and if I click attached, if I'm looking at this from my mobile phone, and obviously this is all responsive, so I could do it on my phone, I can click to upload a photo of any policy I have. Or if I'm using it like this on a desktop, I can click and upload from my desktop. Okay, I could click to follow, which would allow me to complete the form. And what's happened immediately there, you should be able to see, is that I have actually now completed all the questions on the form. So immediately it's prompting me to sign the form. So by just clicking on proceed to sign, it gives me a little warning to say it will be locked. Once I click on proceed to sign, one of the big wins about using eCars through InfoTrack is that you also have the whole of the DocuSign engine built into this as well. So you will have the DocuSign available. You don't have to have a separate contract with Adobe or DocuSign. That's just all part of this product price from InfoTrack. So you can see what I'm looking at now looks more like a property information form. So if I click to agree to use electronic records and signatures and press continue, it's going to take me to the section into the form where a signature is required. So here's my signature. It's saying I could be anything. I can either just draw on myself or select style and select that as my signature, adopt and sign. So we can see Han Solo could be mid-flight somewhere and can still complete this without having to have a pen, a paper, a stamp, an envelope. The benefit of scanning it out, signing it, and getting it back to you, however you accept that. Clicking down to the bottom or the top, I can click finish, and then I'm given a message as a client that that process has been finished. And once all of the parties involved in the transaction have signed it, then it will be completed. Okay, so let's have a look at what that looks like then from a user perspective within InfoTrack and what happens to those documents within the matter. Okay, again, I'm just going to double check that you'll still be able to follow me on the share. So I'm just going to relaunch my share, giving you the right remote desktop. So just bear with me. Okay, so my ticket share that you should be able to see now on your screen, I can go back into my case and I can look and I can see what do the documents look like when they are completed. So the one that I did, I started today, which is here that we did together. That's all the documents, and you can see they're a little bit completed as we do them, but they still look very much like a smart form, and that enables you as a solicitor to see what's happening and also guide your clients through that process if you need to. But the one that we've just done here from the top, I've got my form now has been 100% completed. So you should be able to see on the 100% completed property information form, and on there you will have the, let's go through for you, you will have the signatures on the form as well. So we go down there. So all of the mapping has happened onto the form, and we've done the magic of making sure that the form is exactly the same template as the Law Society, so that the side would expect, but your client has not had to complete what I'm showing you on the screen now. They've had that in a user-friendly, front-facing smart form environment. It always takes me so long to get to the bottom of one of these forms because there's just so much information in there that your client would see. So there's Han Solo's signature on there nicely from today. I close that down. You will also receive back into that workspace a DocuSign certificate, and that will also then go back down to your case. So if I close this and go back into Partner for Windows, what will happen within the matter is that you will receive these documentations seamlessly back into your case, and they will be the signed property information form. Everything that happened within InfoTrack will go back into your case, including, if you include it in there, the attachments which are your client care letter, your terms of business, etc. That's the full lifetime span of the transaction. Obviously, with an accounts integration, the charge that InfoTrack make for that, the product price will also create the slip of your choice to associate with that. And from here, you can do what you'd like with those forms with the other side. So you can send them directly from your case, fully signed and completed. Okay, so I'm just going to open up in regards to questions, so that if anyone has any questions you'd like to ask at this stage. Anything you want to share? So would you like to, is there anything that anyone would like to ask that's relevant to what we've just been through? I can go through and explain some of the questions that come up most often. So we have people asking, what are the biggest hurdles? What do we have to change in our business? If I show you, again, if I show you what it looks like from Partner for Windows, just bear with me, just make sure you can see my Partner for Windows screen. Okay, Emma, so you're just asking, is there a charge for resending the email with the forms if we forget to attach a form? You know, what's really nice about this is just one product cost. So that £5.50 in the beta mode for this product at the moment, there's no cost for anything. So if you resend the forms, if you resend the email, if your client has filled it in and for whatever reason, Han Solo has put a load of stuff in that Princess Leia didn't want included, you could unlock the workspace, they could change it, just re-sign it digitally by clicking on 4 clicks, and there's no charge for that either. So on a really complex transaction where you might have 3 or 4 vendors and you're acting for them, but there's a little bit of back and forward, it's just one price, which I know is really useful. What we our aim for this, for the firms that we have been in our beta for this, is that we would like you to set a KPI for your own business, that you reduce your onboarding down to 48 hours from whatever it is currently. Have a look at what your costs are, have a look at how you're doing that currently, even if you're sending PDFs that your clients send out, with a view to everything now being in your client's court, about how quickly they return to this. We've tested this environment, it's been available for the last couple of years, but this new product is in a beta stage at the moment. And what I mean by that is we've got fewer than 100 firms using this in the UK at the moment, simply so that we can take in we can look at how consumers are using it, and we're making software releases every day to improve your clients that I'm talking about as the consumer's user interface, to make sure it's as hard as possible not to get it right the first time. John, just to come back to you on your question, it is possible for the fee earner to do the form on behalf of the client and then send it to the client to sign. So if you have part of your form and you're looking at it and the client says, I just don't understand it, I'll show you that. So if I just reshare and go back into Partner for Windows, go back into the workspace for you as Partner for Windows, if I just share this. So if I'm in the form in the background here, and I've clicked on there, and I can see that the question that my client is struggling with, and I can see it's left out, I can say, look, I know you've not put that. Do you want to go through it on the phone with me now? So I could do that here, and I could say, what about the RIA? And they could say seller, but you're not signing it for them. You're just going down to the question they can't complete, and then they will still have to review that before they sign it. So they might have said yes, and then the form won't validate because they've put no details. And you could say, did you mean to put yes? Because you've not added any details. And they say, oh no, I don't know why I did that. Okay, would you like me to click no? Okay, fine. And then as you close that simultaneously, not only does it increase the percentage here that's been completed, but your client sees the change into the workspace. A few things I've probably not covered, just so you understand the logic of how this works. As soon as Han Solo, whoever completes the form first and signs it, it locks it down. So if Han Solo does that first, although let's face facts, he's totally flaky, Princess Leia is going to be in charge here. So if Princess Leia finishes that process first, then Hans will get an email to say, hello Hans, Princess Leia is now finished. Have a look at this, and if you're happy, sign. And that will continue with the other people in the transaction. So it's a really ordered and measured way of controlling who signs, because the next one goes out and then the next one goes out. So usually we find from all our market research that one person leads the transaction and does it first, but you don't need to worry about that because it's flexible enough that whoever completes it and signs it locks it for the next person to approve it. Also, really cool features. When Princess Leia completes her part, she gets a copy of the signed forms without you having to do anything for her information. And you obviously get it at each stage that each person signs the form. It comes back into Partner for Windows for you. So you don't have to then resend it out. Some of you may pick up on the fact that these emails are coming out from the InfoTrack platform as you. So it will say Jane Mary Pritchard at Best Solicitors, but it will also be CC'd to you and your email address. So what that means is, for full transparency, if you want to partner mail that into your Partner for Windows file, you've got the full transaction from start to finish. There's no gaps in that process for you. So that's that. I'm just going to flick back out to my desktop so I can just double check in regards to anyone else has any questions. Okay, really good point in regards to signing terms of business using DocuSign. No, you don't have to print anything. Everything can be signed as part of this process. So no matter how many times, no matter how many documents you upload, the seller's information form, those TEA forms will all have a signature put on. But also, if you upload your T's and C's or your client care letter. So if you upload one document as your client care letter, DocuSign will find the end of that and stamp on the place for the signature for you. And as your client signs it, when we went through that process that I showed you, if there's more than one document on there, it will just take you down to the next step, take you down to the next step, and it's instant. So it says sign here, and sign here. One of the things that clients have worked out as they've been on this beta is that perhaps they'll upload 2 documents, so maybe their client care and their T's and C's, and get a signature on both. Excuse me. But if they had maybe 5 documents, privacy notice, whatever else as well, sometimes what they're doing is creating those as a bundle, as one bundle in Partner for Windows when they complete the step in Partner for Windows, so they don't actually have to upload 4 different documents. Because firms are looking at it again and say, why do I have 5 documents actually? I should probably just have 2. But it's flexible right now. So if you upload client care and T's and C's, the only proviso is that you will be asked to sign each individual document that you upload. So if you don't want clients to sign them, we are going to ask them to sign them as part of your process. Clients who didn't do that before are seeing it as a benefit because of a compliance point of view. If you're signing a document and you never had it before and you had to check for quality mark or Lexel whether you had all your know your client bit completed at the start, this way you know it is, because you actually won't let them on board without signing it. So they don't get through without signing every document. It's not complete. Okay, just checking if there are any other questions that anyone else would like to ask. I think that's probably it for the moment. Just so you know that I did use that word know your client in there, and I know that some of you might be thinking that that's not something that you've that's not something I've talked about before. What we are doing with the eCOS product is building in the know your client experience as well. So anything else you could think of that would be part of onboarding to make sure that that's fully packaged up into here. I'm just doing the check on the chat because there's some stuff on the chat as well here. Is it possible for the fee earner to do the form on behalf of the client? We've done that one, so we've covered that. Can client upload files from outside of the questionnaire into the workspace? So I think we've covered that. Anything that's in partner for Windows or locally, you can upload into the workspace. Okay, the AML checks. Can you automate AML checks? So what we've done here is created this really, really powerful forms building engine. And we've done it in the sale part of conveyancing as the first step, because to be honest, that's the biggest, most laborious task that law firms have to do. If you talk to anyone else across the business, like, it feels like conveyancers get stuck with the biggest job to do at the beginning. So now we've got a really lovely, stable and solid platform that's complete. We're looking at how we make the best use of the information we get back. In the seller's questionnaire, we're going to take all the information on the bank account details, for example, for you. So you may be using that for your AML. And so what we're looking at now as the next stage of this product is where we add in the order for those at the same time. So for example, in a modular approach, some people might only want to use this to onboard, but if you want to add an AML to that has that in that space, that you can also do that process seamlessly as part of eCOS onboarding. I'm not going to go into that any further today, but just to say that is the knowing your client stuff, validation of identity, banking, and AML checks is something that we feel fits into this eCOS space, and we would like to put that all in as part of this solution for you. But for now, the beta for this product closes at the end of February. So if you're interested post-February in joining eCOS, you won't have to change anything on your integration. All the mappings that you have, if InfoTrack have installed them for you, are the same for eCOS. If you have the file uploader, it will work in the same way. So literally what we would need to do for you is turn you on into the new eCOS model so you can see it and start using it. But that will be a conversation that you'll need to have back either to myself or your account managers, and just share your interest in it. And for new users, we're taking those in post the end of February so that you can obviously start looking at how you get your processes ready for this, by which stage the beta of this will be completed. Anything else? I think we've probably covered, so I'll probably bring that to an end. But for anyone who doesn't have my contact details and wants to ask me some further questions, it's absolutely fine. So just email me on jane.pritchard@infotrack.co.uk, and I will happily answer any of those questions that you have. If you prefer to go to your account manager, they will liaise with me on those as well. And yeah, hopefully you've seen that and it's inspired you to think about how this could form part of what you do for your business, for your onboarding solution. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Thursday, and hope to catch up with you all very soon. Thank you. Bye.